Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, Adam, Caplan for another Inside the Birds as we are knee-deep here in training camp. The Eagles have definitely kickstarted their camp. The pads finally came out, so we've got a lot to talk about as far as who's rising, who's falling, what we're seeing, what we're hearing. We'll go through everything. It was cool, Adam, to see the pads come out, but I will still say this, and I think you agree. It's still different than in the past, even when pads came out. I mean, we were at a practice on Wednesday, right? And it was only an hour and 15-minute practice. And then it was already like maintenance day for the veterans just one day after the pads come out for the first time. I heard Jonathan Gannon talking after the practice, and he said what I had talked about last pod. What I was fairly certain of was, this is not just a coaching decision. It is in large part a strength and conditioning decision and a medical staff decision. We talked about the length of time between the end of their camp, mini camp, and the beginning of training camp. It was about 7 to 8 weeks. That's a longer than normal time. And so they're having a longer than normal ramp up process. And so for us, it's maybe not as fun as it used to be, but obviously this is all in the name of player safety.
Yeah, sports science is big on this and how recovery is put into this. And yeah, the Eagles have an interesting situation where they were done the first week of June. If not the first team done, certainly one of the 2 or 3 teams done very early. And you get back, and we'll go over the injuries in a second. It's certainly been interesting. I mean, look, we had on Wednesday we had some guys come off the COVID list, which is really good. That was good because we weren't really sure what was going on there. They kind of have an idea of where these injuries are. There's nothing serious. That's a good thing. Yes, they've had injuries. Every team does, but there's nothing that we think is going to keep anyone out week 1 at Atlanta. So that's a good thing. But we got some guys rehabbing. And then we've got, as you're talking about it, some standouts. Some guys need to pick it up like a typical training camp.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get into that. Real quick on the latest Q&A, I thought it was fantastic. Jason Avonte and Quentin Michael did a lot of discussion on what training camps are like. They went through some epic fights that they remember. So everybody should check that out because everybody loves a good training camp fight story. But the thing they also talked about, Adam, was they were able to give what training camp is like from a player perspective, which is great, and also a coaching perspective because both of those guys have been coaches at different times. You know, Q did the coaching internship years ago. And then Jason Avonte, we know last year, was with the team. And the process by which the coaches take to evaluate the players on a daily basis and how fast they get the tape back and the process of kind of having those meetings, personnel meetings every week where you have to rank who's doing best to worst in your group. It was a really fascinating insight on those guys on behind the scenes. We always talk about the players, but how they're evaluated by the coaches and the processes these coaches use was brought to life there in that podcast by them. So that was good stuff.
Yeah, and the other one, you put the clip on Wednesday, I think it was. I saw it Wednesday morning of a John Runyon story. I don't want to give it away, but I'm sure folks know what John Runyon does now. He works for the NFL, and he's a guy who hands out the fines, and he enforces rules, and he's like the last guy you would think would do that. But John takes his job seriously. I know he loves it, and I remember, man, there were some amazing training camps with him. It's pretty amazing what he was able to do. And then this show, by the way, the Q&A show, the comments, you have to see the comments on YouTube. They're phenomenal. And people, the storytelling is what it's all about. And as you were talking about, you got to see these comments. People are out of their minds on the show. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And like you always say, the purpose of ITB, whether it's our show, their show, or a different show underneath the ITB umbrella, is to be educational and have people learn something. And I think that's what those two guys are really given, not just with their stories, but also how their stories of how things are done, not just even their own stories as players. But they also talked about playing through pain and what it's like dealing with injuries. And they were using the Carson Wentz situation to talk about that on a personal level. So really, really in-depth kind of discussion on how difficult that is for a player. Did we talk about the whole Carson Wentz thing last time about his injury? And it's kind of come to light now, 5 to 12 weeks. And same thing with Quentin Nelson, their best offensive lineman. So it's it's not looking real positive right now that the Eagles are going to be able to get that first round pick. I mean, anything can happen, but it's not looking great.
Yeah, it's we were a lot of Eagle fans were counting on them to have 3 first-round picks over a 2-year period, but right now it doesn't look like it. But you never know. And then the crazy thing is Quentin Nelson had a similar injury. He broke his foot as well. They've got offensive line problems. The Colts do. The difference between the Eagles' offensive line and the Colts, maybe the Colts starting 4, you could debate who's better, but the Eagles' depth is way better. And we've actually seen that in training camp so far because of these so-called veteran days off, which we saw on Wednesday. In fact, unfortunately, I've been to 2 veteran day offs of the days I've been at practice. But that happens. I understand. And as we were talking about, sports science plays into it. Older players, you understand, and some guys are coming off injury. But a lot of guys you normally wouldn't see, like Nate Herbig, and we know he had to start last year, he's getting a lot of run. Matt Pryor's getting a lot of run. He seemed to be in oblivion. He had one really great block that I saw in Wednesday's practice. But Suopeta's getting work. Ross Pierschbacher, who's a lot of guy people don't know about, who was formerly with Washington. Harry Kreider, one of my favorite names of this year's draft. Good old Harry. He's getting a run with the second and third team. So that's kind of what we're seeing with these guys getting in there.
Yeah, definitely a lot of mixing and matching of personnel. The first cuts come when? August 8th, is it? Or is it after the first preseason game?
There's 3.
Because I know that it came earlier than because they've switched the cut format this year to make a couple of different, like 3 or 4 separate dates. And I remember thinking, wow, that first one's early.
Yeah, there's 3. Hang on, I have it here.
I think you just have to cut 5 players, but it's still earlier than you would usually expect.
Okay, it is August 17th is the first one at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Clubs must be at 85. The next one, wow, right, 1 week later. Wow, exactly 1 week later. I'm guessing it's on a Tuesday. The NFL loves Tuesdays for some reason, but it's the 24th of August. They got to get it down to 80, and the big one. They got to go cut 27 if they're down to 80, or if they're at 80. They got to go from 80 to 53 by the 31st of August at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is the initial 53.
Got it. Okay, so we're still been a little less than 2 weeks away from the first cut down date, which is a small one anyway. Before we start talking, certain players, X's and O's, offense, defense, I want to get your impression on the coaching staff and what you've observed, because I think it's really been one of the standout observations of camp just to see these guys really in action right now.
It's interesting when I look at them coach, and I understand they're a new staff here, right? Mostly, so a couple guys were kept over, but mostly new staff. So they're definitely trying to put their imprint. And what I know about Nick Sirianni is he's an in-your-face coach, and you saw it in Wednesday's practice. It's not a secret. He got after some players. That's his job. That's what you do. I was actually glad to see it. He's fiery, man. He gets after it, and he's not the only one. They coach hard here, man. This is something we've been after, Geoff and I, on our show Inside the Birds. If you're a new listener, by the way, we appreciate you following us. We've been saying for 3 years now, the lack of accountability from the coaches to the players was a problem. That is part of the reason why this roster that's not developed as much as it should. You can't keep saying these guys can't play. What happens when you actually develop these players? Then we'll see. Perfect example. Now, I'm not saying this guy's even going to make the team. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has had some plays in camp where not that he's fast, but you're seeing his releases from the line better. You're seeing some improvement from him. John Hightower, for some of the challenges that he's had, we've documented since last November. He's having a good camp. He's pushing for that 5th receiver job. This is the kind of things you want to see here. Or maybe, now I understand it's the same receiver coach, but you also have Nick Sirianni, who's got a background in receivers, and Kevin Patullo does. So you're seeing these guys coached harder here, and it's showing.
Absolutely. And you, me, and Andrew DeCecco from InsideTheBirds.com all were at practice on Wednesday. So it was cool to have ITB fully represented there. I was there on Tuesday as well for the first day of practice and pads. And, you said we both saw Nick Sirianni on Wednesday, light into some guys. I saw it on Tuesday, and it's specifically, you can tell it's offense, it's wide receivers. I mean, and it doesn't even matter. Some of the stuff has been tweeted out, but it's not just one guy, it's several guys. And on Tuesday, he really gave an exasperated type of yell, and he even looked at Aaron Moorhead like, get these guys together. And that really crystallizes to me what we have said from the start about how wide receiver development with this team is not only needed, but should really be seen, right? Because this coaching staff, you've got Sirianni, who was a wide receiver, Kevin Patullo was a wide receiver, and Aaron Moorhead obviously was a wide receiver in college and in the NFL. So this is the position that needs, on offense, needs the most development, and they're getting it. And I imagine coachability is going to be big for these guys, a week or two today when they really start to make these decisions on who they think is getting it and who they think is not getting it. Probably going to factor into their decisions. But as we noted from the very beginning until now, that is the position that you really see the coaches getting themselves into. They're like surgeons with a scalpel and a forceps right now, right? And if something's not going right, they are asserting themselves.
Well, and I would add to that, look, if you went over every position with this football team, is there a position other than linebacker? Is more questions? Receiver. I mean, it's just
probably receiver. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, if we had to start today, right? If this was the game against the Falcons, I would bet that your two starting receivers. Now, again, depending on how we don't know if they're going to be heavy 12 or heavy 11 yet, partially because Ertz is still on the roster. We know a lot, quite frankly, from everything we had heard in February. Most of it looks like it's going to happen, but what I don't know is, and I can't answer this, where like I go to Browns camp, they're heavy 12. That's not changing. Here, I don't know whether it be heavy 11 or heavy 12, but I do know this. Travis Fulgham and Devontae Smith, once he's back from his MCL, those are your starting receivers right now.
Travis Fulgham, Devontae Smith, yep. And that interior receiver, it could be Greg Ward, it could be Jalen Reagor, it could be a couple of other guys. I mean, there's a lot going on. So it'll be interesting to see how that thing shakes out. All right, I do want to start getting into kind of our observations of groups and also individuals. First, as we always tell you, go visit our friends at DealDash.com or download the DealDash app. Register, use the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. That's promo code ITB to get a special offer for bonus free bids when you use DealDash. Let's start with offense, since we were just kind of getting into that. The offensive line, Adam, has obviously the big story is left tackle. And, the pads came out. Thought it was a little telltale on the first day that the pads came out. It was Jordan Mailata who got the first team reps. Now, the next day, it was Andre Dillard. They were still in pads. It was Andre Dillard. So it's still 50-50 as far as first team reps. But there's no question that Jordan Mailata, especially on Wednesday, has shown up and is becoming – look, we said that the snaps may be 50-50, but Mailata is the guy that has to lose the job. He goes in as the leader, and in fact, he may have already started to separate whatever distance there was between himself and Andre Dillard.
It is a cavern. Okay, he's separate. It's that's really where it is right now. It went in with Mailata as the heavy favorite. Nothing's changed,
right?
Except that Mailata right now, if you and I, based on what we've seen and what we're told. One could argue Mailata's been the most impressive player in training camp. He's certainly in my top three based on what we know. I was at his first OTA practice where I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is going to look like. He's a massive human being. He had never put a helmet before. It's just one of the most remarkable NFL stories. I don't think anyone outside this market, the Philadelphia market, or even the media nationally has any idea what has happened here with this player. It's one of the most amazing stories in Eagles history to this point. We'll see how the book is written from here, but he is going to be this left tackle this season. The Eagles they haven't named it. They haven't settled this yet, but I'll do it for them. Jordan Mailata is going to be your left tackle.
Sure looks that way. And I think it's important to distinguish, as you're saying, Adam, that it's not just because Andre Dillard's not performing well that Jordan Mailata is the winner. Jordan Mailata, sort of how they said with Jalen Hurts, you got to take the reins and go with it. Jordan Mailata, came in camp in great shape. He had trimmed down a little bit as he needed to do. And to me, when I watch him, and even the coaches say that he's starting to understand how to use that massive body of his and really become a more complete offensive lineman. Now he's got, even if he wins the job, right, as he will, he still has to then go up against the best defensive ends in the league and prove it on a day-to-day basis. But he really is improving on all levels. And it comes at a time where Andre Dillard who talked kind of a big game in OTAs about how he was going to be different both physically and mentally, has not, in my opinion, gone out there and shown, because sometimes you can struggle but still show improvement. I don't know that I've really seen anything I would say improvement out of him. His big thing is this. The footwork is there. It's the anchor and the fight. The engagement with your arms. We know his arms aren't long, but he's still a big, huge guy at 300 and something pounds, 330. He's got to put up more fight.
Yeah, he's got to be more physical, no doubt. Mailata, it's funny. It's to the point he's doing so well. I'm trying to find out if there's any weaknesses in his game. Mm-hmm. I understand nobody's perfect. I get it. And, for Dillard to somehow come back and win this one, it's kind of like a heavyweight fight. Let's say it's a 10-round fight. Mailata's won the first 4 rounds. Let's say 4 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
For Dillard to win a unanimous, to somehow come back and win the final 6 rounds, it would have to be a major upset. Mailata would have to regress, and he's shown no regress, and he's progressed like crazy. And Dillard will go, maybe he gets super pissed off. He sees the tape, and he goes, "Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I got to get better." And he just shocks us. We had said before the camp, the best case scenario is that both are so good that Geoff Stalin has a hard time picking who should start at left tackle. But that, unfortunately, that hasn't happened. 68 has been off the hook great, arguably the best player in camp, where Dillard has been, unfortunately, not good enough.
There was a 2-play sequence on Wednesday, the first day of pads. At the end, sort of toward the end of practice, they were doing 11-on-11, so full team. The second team offense was out there, so Dillard was out there at left tackle. And here's the good thing about the competition is that it doesn't really matter whether you're first or second team, because Barnett, who we'll talk about later, and Sweat, who we'll talk about later, are both playing pretty well in camp. So you're going up against a potential starting pass rusher for this team, or a good pass rusher, whether you're running with first or second. So anyway, in this 2-snap series that I was really paying attention to, on the first snap, Dillard did not let Josh Sweat beat him, but he let Josh Sweat push him too far back into the pocket. So in other words, the set was okay as far as the footwork and everything, but the strength on Dillard's side was that he was not anchoring. He could not push Josh Sweat back. And if the play had gone on any longer, Dillard probably would have pushed in to the quarterback. So it was a win because sort of the offense was able to make do without it, but you could tell that wasn't right on Dillard's side. On the very next snap, Adam, Josh Sweat just lined up and trucked him. I mean, he put Dillard on his rear end, right, and disrupted the whole throw. You cannot be on your rear end when you outweigh a guy like that by 60 to 70 pounds. And that just goes back to the toughness. It goes back to the anchor. I mean, these are really important things for a left tackle. It goes back to the offense that he played in, not a whole lot of running. So maybe he doesn't have that physical, punishing mentality, but it's unfortunate because I think we were hoping that no matter who won or lost, the guy who lost, you would say he was still impressive enough to be a good backup, maybe even trade bait. But at this point, you're looking at Andre Dillard and you're wondering, is there an NFL player in there?
Yeah, because you can't rely on just having great feet. I think with Dillard, that's obviously what teams saw. The Texans were very high on him, the Eagles, a couple other teams in that first round. Right. But Mailata, the Mailata story is still to be written to this point. Mm-hmm. Remember last year, what, he missed the first 2 weeks of training camp on COVID list, I think?
He did, yeah.
And he got off to a very slow start. His first week back, what we were told, was not very good. He was a work in progress. Then only in his third year as a football player, not just an NFL player, as a professional, actually any type of American football player. Mm-hmm. And now he's taken his game to a level that no one could have imagined. And this is probably what Howie Roseman and Jeff Stoutland thought when they sent Geoff out there to go to work Mailata out, and that pro day that he had for the teams that were there. And it's just been a remarkable story. So that he's just been ridiculous. When you look at offense, you said we're looking at offense right now. Right now, you could say that he's been the most impressive, other than Miles Sanders. Apparently, I'm told he's been off the hook great. He's in tremendous shape. I know he's had some drops. Okay, he's got to work on it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, but Mailata has been, again, from people who've been there, people who would know, he's been the best player on the offense.
Right. You had mentioned that he was on the COVID list last week, which made me not want to forget to go any further without mentioning the guys who came off the COVID list on Wednesday, which were safety Is it Adam Andrews or Andrew Adams?
Oh, Andrew Adams.
It's Andrew Adams, right? I'm going to get that messed up all year long. All right. Andrew Adams came off, and he actually practiced on Wednesday, right? I mean, I think he was out there a little bit. Yeah, which was great for him. Now, Alex Singleton we saw on the sidelines for the first time. Now, he didn't practice, but he was out there observing.
Yeah, he's been cleared. He's been cleared to be around the team, which now what we're told is as of Thursday morning, he's going to practice Saturday. And we're also told he's feeling great. He feels fine. There's no symptoms. We don't know. We're not told. We don't know whether he didn't pass. He was a close contact. We don't know. But what we do know is he's feeling great. He's ready to roll. Here's the question. Okay. Now I know we're not talking defense right now. You would think he's a favorite because we still think this is a team that's going to only play 2 linebackers most of the time. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Once he gets in there, whether he's going to be that guy opposite Eric Wilson, but that remains to be seen. He should be. But the fact of the matter is a lot of good news, though, over the last couple of days in terms of that COVID issue.
All right. Now, the only one who's still on the list and still not visible is Matt Leo, the defensive end who has the exemption, international exemption? Is that what they call it?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So hopefully we send our best. We hope he's doing okay, but he's still clearly not out there and not practicing, and they really don't give updates on that. So we just hope that Matt Leo is doing okay. Back to the offense. I don't have anything other on the offensive line because I think really left tackle is the spot that everybody's focused on. I mean, Kelsey was given a day off Wednesday. Brandon Brooks and Sayamalu are still not practicing yet from, Sayamalu's week to week. Sounds a little bit less drastic for Brooks. And Lane Johnson has looked good as far as just being there in camp and doing his thing. Nothing has stood out poorly on Lane Johnson. So unless you had anything else on the backups or anything that you want to add.
A couple things. A guy we've never talked about on this show. In fact, ready for this one? In fact, had someone not said something to me who would know, I would not have mentioned Casey Tucker ever on our show. But he at least had some snaps. Okay, maybe they bring him to the practice squad. The best part about these low-end guys doing well is that the other teams can't see it. They can't see the Eagles practice tape. And they have this tape. The coaches see it, and they go, "Okay, we've banked this tape. If we get him in our program in the practice squad, we develop on our practice squad. Maybe if he's got to dress for a game and play, he can play." So he's putting together some reps. And let me mention Matt Pryor, the much maligned. Here's the thing I'll say, but we haven't talked about him yet since training camp started. He's definitely had some snaps where you go, "Okay, look, he's starting to look a little bit every now and then like 2 years ago." But then he has snaps like last season, and that's always been the problem. He had one where he absolutely stoned a guy in Wednesday's practice. Like he put the guy on the ground, or he put the guy off balance. Great, okay, but look, he'll never be a starter here. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. I don't expect him to get his contract extended. But the fact of the matter is, he has size, he has versatility, and he has. At least I know the fans have venom toward him. But I'll say this. Trey Thomas liked him. Our friend Trey Thomas from our show last season.
Sure, I remember that.
Yeah, 2 shows. He was very surprised when we told him, no, Matt did not do well in training camp at 16. I know Trey was disappointed to hear that. Trey liked him. He liked him a couple years ago, so the guy's got something in him.
Yeah, he certainly didn't do well in training camp last year, especially when they had to put him at left tackle.
Yep.
Another backup, though, I think is somebody to watch when the preseason game starts is Luke Jariga, who is a center who this is, I think, his 3rd year with the team now. Second year, right? But they gave him a lot of money last year. He's got some nice athleticism to him. He'll get a decent amount of reps in the games. He is a guy who can move laterally well, and I notice him when the second and third teams or the second teams are out there. So Luke Jariga, just a name to keep an eye on. Any other offensive linemen you wanted to shout out to?
Yeah, Lane looks like a star out there in terms of movement. He's all the way back from the ankle surgery.
Yep.
And it based on what we were told in the spring, it looks like that's what's happening. He looks great, and it did help him. Like he had told people close to him he felt like new, and he sure looks like it. So, he's another guy I would not play in the preseason. I'm at the point, talking to more coaches, Geoff, on my training camp tour, I'm at the point now where some coaches will say, "Oh, this guy doesn't need to play in the preseason." I'm starting to believe that. I never believed that, but more and more coaches are telling me this stuff. I'm like, okay. I mean, you guys are in the trenches. You know this stuff. So if you tell me these good veterans don't need it, it's not worth the risk because they're getting it. And the other thing is, The Eagles have 2 sets of joint practices. Those are great reps there. Why play him in the preseason, right?
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. I mean, he looks physically dominant right now, physically,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you want to preserve this guy. I know that. Let's go to running back because we talked about Miles Sanders having a really nice camp. The one thing, and it could be a big thing and not, but I mean, it's still with catching the ball. We noticed, I think it was on Wednesday, Jalen Hurts had a chance to hit him kind of maybe a little Texas route right out of the backfield over the middle. He dropped it. We had a chance, Andrew DeCecco and I had a chance to kind of watch Miles and Boston Scott taking passes from the jugs machine before practice side by side. And when you watch these guys side by side doing it at the same time, you very much see the difference in that the softness of the hands of a Boston Scott who kind of just catches it gracefully, easily, right? As opposed to Miles who kind of catches it and the hands move a little bit, And these are the ones that come right at you, bam, right out of the jugs machine. He doesn't have hands as soft as Boston Scott. And you look at his career so far, he seems to do fine like 2 years ago, Miles, with the balls that are high in the air, high arcing, and they kind of land in his hand, as opposed to last year, a lot of those passes across the middle that he wasn't able to get his hands on. But I will give him credit. Even after practice, I saw him working with Jalen Hurts on those exact same type of throws, over the middle, over the middle, over the middle. If this kid can just clean that part of his game up, as you were mentioning, everything else looks really crisp and clean with him. Could have a really big year. Yeah,
I'm so big on this coaching staff in terms of scheme. Actually, but quite frankly, both sides of the football, based on what we're hearing. Now, they have to go do it. Yeah. We're not the regular season yet, so we don't want to go crazy. But the early returns, based on what we're seeing and hearing, is really good. Sanders, it's the old Chris Carter hands technique. Carter, up, palms up, grab it like this. If you're watching this on YouTube, the guys who catch it with their palms down, that's the incorrect technique, and that's got to be corrected. But from an explosive standpoint, forget it. He's absolutely incredible. It's funny. I got to watch Nick Chubb earlier this week. He's obviously more physically built, but they're similar in terms of their wiggle inside. They make themselves smaller. It's a coaching term, a scouting term. Miles Sanders makes himself smaller through the hole. That's why he's so elusive. And then, as you mentioned, Boston Scott has had a great camp, what we're told. We've seen it when you and I have been here. Gainwell continues to be used as a receiver. Yep. Not Richard Huntley. It's an old. Remember, Richard Huntley played for the Panthers and Steelers about 15 years ago. But Jason Huntley, the thing that he does that is a problem. Guys who are explosive these change-up backs sometimes try to break too many things out. I'm not saying he's Bryce Brown bad with it. When Bryce Brown, everything was outside. Right. He just needs to learn how to run inside better. There's barring a miracle, he's not going to be on the team because you're not keeping 5 backs. It's the only question now is, see if you agree. It's Sanders, Scott, Gainwell the 3. It's either, Howard's Sanders is 1, Howard's 2. That's already settled. Right. The number 3 job, though, when you say 3, Boston Scott has, he's obviously more advanced, and Gainwell's a change-up kickoff returner. So I just don't see how Kerryon Johnson, unless he picks it up. I mean, has Kerryon Johnson done anything to show you that he should be on the team?
No. In fact, if you were to just rank the running backs, not on performance, but by action, like carries or throws to, or how often they're out there, you would say Miles 1, you would say Jordan Howard 2, you would say Gainwell 3, and I think you would probably say Huntley 4 and before even Kerryon would be 5. And am I missing anybody? Like, I guess there's Elijah Holyfield, but those are your top 5, the way I've seen it. And it's almost like there's a drastic gulf there from Gainwell 3 and Huntley 4 to Kerryon Johnson 5. I just have not seen a whole lot from Kerryon Johnson. Now things can change, things can pick up, maybe he gets in better shape as camp. But as we speak right now, I agree with you. I mean, I think it would be Miles, it would be Jordan Howard looks good, by the way. He's not just getting action. Yeah. He looks good when he gets the ball in his hand. So Miles, Howard, Gainwell, and Boston. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Boston Scott in that hierarchy. So it's Miles, Howard, Gainwell, Scott, Huntley, Kerryon. That's how I would handicap it.
Yeah, Huntley would be the 5th, but they're not going to keep 5 backs unless someone's hurt. So,
Correct.
And yeah, Adrian Killins is a change-up. But see, here's the problem. Right. Huntley could do that. Yeah. Okay, Boston Scott can do that if used correctly. Gainwell sure as heck could do that. So you just can't have too many similar. They don't. Someone has to separate themselves. For Boston Scott to not be on this team, Huntley, Killens, or Holyfield are going to have to do something that they haven't shown so far. And they're going to, by the way, they also have the preseason games to show it. So there's plenty of time, but so far for basically 1 week, it's Wednesday to Wednesday, and the pecking order of the running back is pretty clear.
Yeah, I would agree with you. We'll see if anything changes. As far as pass catchers, we know Devontae Smith is going to be out a couple of weeks with the MCL. I guess I'll listen. I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I was wrong about this. Sort of. I really never thought we would see Zach Ertz in pads practicing, and I think it's a risky decision on the team's part to do it. However, it's not like he takes a ton of reps because he's splitting a lot with Goddard. There have been some 12 personnel packages. I know I mentioned that in a past podcast. I haven't seen that. We have seen that now. So he has been out there at times with Dallas Goedert, also in the same formation. But again, he doesn't get a ton of reps because they do so much mixing and matching. But he caught 2 really good passes from Hurts on the first day of the padded practices. And then that was kind of it for him. And then there was a maintenance day for him the next day. So he's really only had, today they'll practice again. We'll see if he's out there. He's only really had 1 padded practice underneath his belt and not a ton of action, but he's out there. And I think he looks like the normal Zach Ertz, except for with blonde hair.
Exactly. Let me tell you something. The story of camp, and he's still somewhat of a long shot, and we'll just see.
Right.
But I'm going to give you something that was not really been discussed about Tyree Jackson, number 80, the former quarterback out of Buffalo. It's not his pass catching that is obviously his pass catching has been great. That's not been a surprise because he can move and he's long. It's his blocking. Now he's not great. He's not accomplished. He's not even good at it. But here's the thing: he's not embarrassing himself. Remember, folks, he's never played receiver that I know of in his life.
Right.
He's never played tight end in his life. Maybe someone knows in high school. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I just know of him as a college quarterback. He couldn't play here in the NFL because I was at his Senior Bowl. He was awful. He'd thrown the ball in the stands. It was kind of like Logan Thomas. Really similar. It's a really amazing story. And he is, from what I'm told, not just when you and I have been here. Everybody knows who's been in practice, whether you're a season ticket holder or the media. He's been great. He catches everything. That'll catch the eye. That'll help you get to the end of August. Potentially, or at least get to the second or third preseason game. He's doing so well now that if Ertz is moved, this is only first week, he's not guaranteed nothing. Right now, he's off the roster as far as I'm concerned. He's got to get on it. Well, he's starting to get in the conversation here about doing something really significant here.
Right, but I don't think that would change how they feel about Jack Stoll, who they've liked as well.
No,
right, it just means that they may feel that they should keep 4 tight ends. If Ertz, assuming Ertz not here, you would keep Goddard, Richard. Although maybe they feel like I can't imagine that if Ertz is gone, they're going to not stick with Goddard and Rodgers as a number 1, number 2.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's settled. That's
okay.
We know
just making sure. Yeah, probably. But then, but it opens up the door for then 2 more tight ends to make it, which could be Stoll and Tyree Jackson.
Well, here's the way it'll go. I mean, I'll make another prediction here. Barring something highly unforeseen, if Ertz is traded, I don't think – I mean, we've said throughout they've never considered cutting him unless they change their mind. That's not going to happen. It's either he's traded or he's here. So unless Zach asks for his release, and I've not heard he's going to do that. Right. Especially, why would you do that now? But
no, 8.5 million reasons not to do that.
All right, so it's Goddard. It's, again, if Ertz is traded, it's Goddard, Rodgers, and then Stoll. The question is, you brought it up, do they – a 4th tight end. Now, Jason Kroom didn't work. He might have gotten a veteran day off Wednesday. I don't know. But this is where Tyree Jackson's got to separate himself from Kroom. Hakeem Butler's at receiver because of their numbers there.
Right.
Caleb Wilson's there. We know Caleb Wilson is attached tight end. He can't play in line because his body type. He's thin and tall. But the question is, can Tyree Jackson continue this? It's really a great story. It's we had him on NFL radio after the draft. It's such a great kid. He's so humble. He explained why he did it. He understood that, to make it, he needs to change positions. In fact, if Logan Thomas would have done that after his first year might have been the Cardinals. I can't remember who drafted him. He might have been way further along. Now, obviously, Logan Thomas just signed an extension. He's been an incredible story. But Jackson willing to do this now? I mean, if this continues, at the very least, he'll be waived. And if he clears waivers, He'll be on their practice squad. But here's the problem, because the media is there, they're able to see it and write about it, and other teams read this stuff.
Yeah, as they found out from Noah Togiai, I guess, last year.
We don't. We think, right? Who the hell knows, right?
Who knows? One of the crazy things, Adam, is that when you look at Tyree Jackson, is that he's not a twig. Like, he's 6'7", as you mentioned, but he's not Ifani Moma. He's got a body to him, which might help him, as you mentioned, be a better blocker eventually than you would anticipate for someone who's never done it before. I know we talked about maybe he could add some weight, but I mean, he's not rail thin. He's got for a 6'7" guy, he's got body to him. That can only help him.
He needs to put muscle on. He's probably a good 15 pounds away from it, but as you said, he's not like 225 pounds, right? He's just so long. I'm really interested to see if this is going to work. I mean, Howie Roseman and the personnel staff, they've been trying to do this for years, to find these guys who have, not that you're going to find Antonio Gates. They've tried that years ago of guys who played basketball. I can't think of the names right now. They did it with a couple guys, but they're looking for guys who've played other positions that could transfer to another one. And this is a project. And Jason Michael, the tight ends coach, who's been around a long time, this is obviously a pet project for him. We'll see if it works.
We will. Let's move on to the other pass catchers, wide receivers. This is a really hard position to talk about. There has not been a ton of downfield, starting at the 20s, what they call move the ball sessions. There's been a lot of red zone. There has been enough over 2 days of padded practice to talk about some guys, but they're very inconsistent. John Hightower, I've seen coaches kind of get on him at times, and then you and I saw on Wednesday, he made probably the best catch of the day when Jalen Hurts threw him the ball down the left sideline, and he went up, got it, and was able to keep his feet in bounds to make make a play where, when you're watching it happen in real time, you're not sure if he's in bounds or not until the umpire or the judge ruled him in. So that was a nice play by John Hightower. Jalen Reagor is a guy who's kind of in. I think you were at a practice where he did a nice job beating his guy, but the ball didn't get to him. But overall, you're looking for somebody, the most consistent wide receiver that I've seen as far as making plays, nice releases, looks explosive, looks improved, is Quez Watkins.
Yeah, I would say Fulgham and Watkins. This is based on what we know and what we've seen. So I would say with Hightower, the thing is passion for the job, just attacking each day. There's a saying in life, you got to get out of your own way. He's a perfect guy for that if you put that phrase up in front of him. He's got the ability to play in this league for 7 or 8 years. He definitely does. He's got good length. He can run. What we learned last year, well, it wasn't good in the regular season, but at least in training camp, he showed a pretty decent football IQ when the Eagles drafted him. Then he drifted. He just was not consistent. And then, he kind of fell off. Obviously, he drops. He just lackadaisical. He just goes. He's just not the most consistent player. It's going to be hard for him to make the team because, as you mentioned, Watkins has been – I know he came in like maybe he didn't pass his conditioning test, but you wouldn't know it over the last 4 days. He's been phenomenal. Now, again, in what they're asking him to do, it's not like he's running totally with the ones. He's running with the twos and doing a good job like that. So Reagor's got to pick it up. Again, I don't see him starting unless he picks it up. Now, he'll have 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks to get this done, and he's going to need to pick it up. He has not had a very good camp so far. We'll see what happens. Fulgham's been very consistent for what we're told and what we've seen. And you know what helps him? His length. It's 6'2.5". See, the Eagles didn't draft anyone they didn't draft anyone with size this year who could challenge him. So, and I know they don't like to say X receiver with these coaches, but he's going to be a starting outside receiver. That's just that to me is pretty much a certainty. Again, unless Reagor picks it up, it's going to be Fulgham and Smith week 1 against Atlanta.
Yeah, so a lot of time. I mean, obviously, Jalen's got to kind of bridge that gap, and the coaches are working with him. I did see him stay after practice for some jugs machine on Wednesday. Good. I saw him on Tuesday, I think it was, getting a little extra work in with all 3 quarterbacks. They were just practicing certain throws, and he was the designed wide receiver, which may have been intentional to just take those throws to get continue to get him into the right shape and everything like that. All right, so we'll round it out with quarterbacks. Obviously, we have to talk about that. Before we get into quarterbacks, Adam, I want to tell everybody DraftKings Sportsbook is not only our favorite sportsbook, but America's top-rated sportsbook. And speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold. And DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer just for our listeners. So listen to this great offer. You place any pre-event wager of $1 to be eligible to cash $100 in free credits if America wins any medal this year. That's 100-1 odds on an American athlete to stand on the podium and receive gold, silver, or bronze this week. 100-1 odds on an offer like this does not come around often. So sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook now to get in on all of the action. We love using DraftKings Sportsbook. Very easy to navigate. Plenty of instructions for new bettors. Nearly limitless ways to get in on all of the action. Our friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook. We know that you will too. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code ITB to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or if you're in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. All right, let us talk, Adam, about the quarterback situation. So you and I always like to say there's always like a lot of stuff out there on social media or whatever, and a lot of it is like percentages and stats and everything like that. And that's not always an indication of what the coaches want and the coaches are looking for. Now, obviously, the coaches they talk very, very highly. You know, they praise Jalen Hurts very highly, as coaches do with their quarterbacks, as they should. And yes, Jalen Hurts has completed a lot of passes at, a large percentage. If you probably charted his completion percentage, I'm sure it's well over 60, right? But the question that must be answered that is when any of these quarterbacks, whether it's Jalen Hurts or Joe Flacco or Nick Mullins, are completing a throw, is that the throw that the coaches – is that where the coaches wanted the quarterback to go with the ball? And when we stand on the sideline, we don't know that play call.
Oh, right. Yeah. So the other thing is, are the guys getting open? Downfield, because they're not pushing the ball downfield. It's not just because they're not going along the length of the field. Even if they're going half field, they're not getting it downfield enough. It's there are a lot of checkdowns. It's not just Hurts. It's Flacco. It's Mullins. No, I know Mullins is coming off surgery. I think it was elbow surgery or something. I know it's coming off some kind of surgery. So that he had, he might have had it right after the season. I don't remember, but nevertheless, they're just not pushing the ball downfield. So part of it is what we talked about in the last show. And boy, we seen it being at practice. My goodness gracious, they're doing way more standing up with these players than I even imagined. When we kind of, it wasn't reporting, which is what we had heard. You said Kerrigan's going to be a linebacker and a DN here. It's not going to be any more one than the other. Well, I might be wrong about that. He might be more of a linebacker than DN. Kerrigan was he's thumb apparently is fine. He was in uniform doing something once he's practiced. But even Josh Sweat, and I don't know how comfortable he is. The linebackers, the stand-up linebackers are on the ball. They are right there, and they're in the box low behind the DN. They sometimes, I'm kind of laughing. I think the stand-up linebackers breathing on the DN's neck is that close. It's kind of funny. Like Joe, I'll tell you what, Joe Osman is getting. He's getting some of that done.
Hey, you're getting to defense already. We're still trying to do quarterbacks here. No, I'm just
no. What I'm saying is they're doing so much with these guys. It's impacting the passing game. There's no question about it. That's why they're not getting downfield.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would have to say, in all my years covering training camps, this has been one of the probably least deep pass laden type of camps that I've seen in quite a while, and that speaks for all three quarterbacks, not just any one individual. And that might be by design. Again, this is a new offense, new install. They're definitely. I can tell that the structure of camp is different, even from the time. Right, everything is in ramp up mode. For example, there's just been a ton of red zone. I have not seen this much red zone this early in camp in past regimes. So. There's nothing saying that you can't open up over the next week or so, and all of a sudden you're starting to see more situational ball. By the way, remember 10? Those totally disappeared. I don't know when the last time the 10-10-10 practices. Remember 10 offensive plays, 10 defensive plays, 10 special teams, right?
Thank goodness.
Those are gone. I haven't seen a 10-10-10 in I think 10 years.
Well, no, but that was.
But those were fun because they were fast paced.
No, Doug did them because it was an Andy.
Yeah, Doug did those. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot Doug.
I hated them because. If you thought Wednesday's practice, which was another hour and 15er, was it an hour and 15?
Yeah, that was
11.
Short.
Yeah, and And last Friday when I was there, it was an hour and 10. Yeah, right. I mean, now you were telling me off the air that you had an interesting theory, and I think it's very well said. That, and well, you said it to start the show here. It could be because it's sports science based. The first week of camp when they've been off nearly 2 months because they had an OTA so quickly. Maybe that it's just the way that they're structuring practice. They're going to go. They might go 145, like Saturday's practice is 145. They might go 115 the next one. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just biorhythms. Who knows?
There you go. There was a drill on Tuesday that I watched closely, a quarterback drill where they were out toward the far end zone. And they were probably about maybe the 10-yard line or something like that. And there were about 6 or 7 of those neon markers on the ground. And the design of the drill is you're supposed to kind of like sidestep all the markers. I guess it's supposed to simulate pressure in the pocket, right? So you sidestep all the markers in a synchronized way, and then you either throw it into the right net or the left corner net. Both nets are in the corner of the end zone. The only quarterback who was able to do all the legwork and then fire the ball into the net was Nick Mullins. Jalen Hurts and Joe Flacco, I hate to say it, at times they didn't even come close to the net. It was now, I'm not saying that it's a drill like any drill. It's just designed to work on certain things. If you're bad at it, I don't think it necessarily means you're a good quarterback if you're good or a bad quarterback if you're bad. Yeah. It was just very interesting to watch because not only did you in this drill did you have to sidestep those markers. Sometimes you would do the sidestepping and then you would roll all the way out to the right or roll all the way out to the left to try to hit the net. And Mullins was the only quarterback to throw the ball in the net. And he did it repeatedly. And the others two, I don't think either of the other two made it once.
What's funny,
so I said, I don't know how they may dread that drill the way Michael Vick dreaded the fly swatter drill.
Yeah. It's funny because as you were saying this, something. Don't tell me Greg Ward was playing quarterback doing this thing, and he was the one who was accurate. I almost went there.
No, that would be funny. But I will say, in the practices we've watched since the pads came out, from a Jalen Hurts standpoint, everything has been done in the pocket. I haven't seen him try to run or make something happen. Right. He's just going through the motions of the offense, which is what he's supposed to do.
Look, he's getting 1% better, as Sirianni says. There's no doubt. But I'm not saying these throws are easy. The fact I don't know if I mentioned this. The Saturday practice I was at, he had this great throw, and these are the kind of things I look for. It was a throw to Fulgham on the right sideline. It was right in front of me. It was only a 12-yard pass, but he fired it through the defender. And I'm like, that is an NFL pass. Those are the kind of passes that the big-time guys make. Aaron Rodgers of the world, Mahomes, like where you see it and you got to fire it in there because if you don't fire it in there, it's going to be deflected.
Right.
And look, he's improving, but there's some challenges here. Flacco's going through the same things. He's holding on to the ball sometimes way too long because he's not sure where to go. Why? Flacco's going through the same thing. They're doing so much pre-snap, post-snap. I totally understand why it's been up. I don't want to say up and down. It's just been challenging for both of these guys.
Right.
Mullins is going against the threes, and he's just getting rid of the ball.
No, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because even when we were watching 7-on-7s on Wednesday, there were 2 snaps where Jalen, took the snap, and it's in the red zone, and he's looking, and one time he went to Miles. I forget who he went to another time, but he, the play was 5 seconds at this point. So, that's not going to happen.
Sack.
It's either a sack or he's on the run or something. So if you're charting it and you're tweeting out all these great stats, it's, hey, he was 2 for 2 on those 2 throws, right? But those are not realistic to what goes on in an NFL game, which is why I go back to say the completion percentage charting doesn't matter. It doesn't tell you what you think it might tell you. So,
right, exactly. It's as I said in the last show, it's what the tape shows. It's what and only the coaches know where the ball's supposed to go. Right. Well, I just know that because of this defense, all that they're throwing, that Jonathan Gann, the D coordinator, is throwing at them, the quarterbacks are holding the ball sometimes way too long. And it's also not always going to the right guy. But this is to be expected when you're playing a new defense.
Yep.
Okay. Think about it. Jalen Hurts, right? Think how many defenses he's gone through against his career. Last year was the wide 9, which is maybe one of the easiest defenses to decipher, particularly because Schwartz doesn't believe in movement. It's pre-snap and post-snap movement very much. Where this guy, this is all literally, And I'll tell you what, another nugget as we finish off offense here. I do wonder. I just wonder if they will, depending on how we're assuming that the Eagles don't trade for Watson right now. If Hurts is the starter week 1, which he will be as long as they don't trade for Watson, I do wonder if they keep it back in a lot just to help out Hurts or just to give him an outlet more. Because if Atlanta, because Atlanta's going to play, Dean Pease came out of retirement, they were going to run a 34.
Mm-hmm.
If they throw a lot of junk at him, I wanted just to help him out, just to have someone there, because Flacco's going for the same thing. Like I'm seeing, and I haven't seen him. We go to Baltimore a lot. I don't see him. And I know he's new. He's new to this team, new to this personnel. That's obviously part of it. But this defense, man, is something else. What they're doing so far.
Definitely. Let's get into the defensive line first. I want to tell everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. They are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. So find them on Twitter at phlsportsnation and check them out at phlsportsnation.com. And we'll pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you head into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. We promise. Defensive line has kind of like been the, if you're at a buffet, right, and you get all this good food, the defensive line is like that beautiful tray of filet mignon, right? You're like, man, I came here for this. And certainly the defensive line has shown up, as you would expect, because there's talent. But Adam, I mean, it's really good to see two things. One, Josh Sweat, who we mentioned earlier, start to really take that next step level, becoming a complete pass rusher, dominating in camp, which he did last year against Matt Pryor, but we always said, yeah, but that's Matt Pryor, right? And then two, health means everything. Healthy Javon Hargrave out there, new defense. I mean, he's shown up. You can just tell. He's in the backfield a lot. He's quick. He's got his hands going. I mean, these are two guys who are really, really benefiting from this camp and really doing well like they should.
I would say Hargrave, based on what we're told. So my MVP so far for 1 week would be Mailata, based on what we see and what we've heard. Hargrave would be the MVP of the first week. He is explosive, not impossible, but very hard to block. He's been great, and that's good because this time last year he had the pectoral strain. I think you reported that. Was it a pectoral strain or something?
Yeah, from working out in the weight room.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. So he's great. You put him next to Cox. That's great. And here's another nugget here, because I think, and I'll be guilty as charged here. I didn't think they would have and we'll see. We have to get the regular season to see what really happens. But I just assume because there's no wide 9 anymore, the Eagles will not be a heavy pressure defense in terms of their front four. But if you disguise well, you make the quarterback hold on to the ball longer. That's what Jim Schwartz did not do. This guy, Gannon, does it, and that's why this D-line still is going to be really good.
Yeah, and they're going to, we hear where they're going to try to manufacture some of that pressure with line games, twisting and something. Haven't seen a ton of that yet. I think they're doing the whole crawl before you walk thing on defense, but certainly still getting pressure from those guys we mentioned. Now, at defensive tackle, the depth still kind of is a mystery because they're rotating so many different guys in there. We've seen Hassan Ridgeway. We've seen T.Y. McGill flashing at certain points. I've seen Milton Williams. I think on Wednesday I saw Milton mostly at D tackle. Remember how he started camp and he was getting all those defensive end reps? I saw him a lot at defensive tackle on Wednesday. But I tell you, I'm looking hard, but I don't see a whole lot of Marlon Tuipulotu out there. So he's almost like the Kerryon Johnson of defensive tackles. I'm sure he's out there, but I just don't see him doing anything or even notice him when he's in a personnel grouping.
Yeah, and also Raekwon Williams. When I've been at camp, I can't speak to the other times. He's been on the sideline. He's been in Jersey, but he hasn't practiced. He's wearing a mask, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's practiced, and I haven't, because again, I haven't been there every day. But I'm not sure what's going on with him. But Tuipulotu, they all have a chance. Like based on what we know, there's no 3, 4, 5 D tackle. They're all open, which is kind of what we expected coming into training camp. I don't know what Ridgeway's weight is, but he's a big guy. He's got some weight to him. As you said, these jobs are open, and DN Sweat is He's just been amazing. He's been amazing. Yep. We should mention this because the first couple of days were in question, but they're not anymore. Derek Barnett apparently the last 3-4 days has been terrific.
Yeah.
Maybe he's feeling the heat from Sweat. I can't tell. I still think Sweat's going to want to play more snaps than him. Anytime I come out and say something, this is going to happen in terms of depth charts. I'm saying now, I'm making a educated guess based on what we know, where it's headed. I still think Sweat will get more snaps. We'll see if they're all healthy. Obviously, all things being equal, but Barnett is on a contract drive. So Sweat. That's the interesting thing. Both these guys, they're trying to get a new contract. So
right.
It's what? This is where I think it's bringing the best out of both guys. They're both competing for playing time, and they both are trying to get a new deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Osman has, as you mentioned, Joe Osman's been out there taking advantage of Ryan Kerrigan is out with it's a minor injury. Is it a finger or a thumb or something like the thumb? Yeah, so it's
got a tape.
It's not major. Yeah, he'll be fine. But Osman is getting in there, and Avery too. I feel like Avery is still a linebacker. They're practicing at linebacker, but as you mentioned, you're seeing him as a pass rushing linebacker. Osman, you're seeing him as both a linebacker and a D end, I think, because I feel like I've seen Osman with his hand in the dirt. Yeah,
he is actually. Again, I never chart anymore, but I would bet he's been more at linebacker than DN. What we were told, what we put out on our show back in the spring, folks, if you're new to us, is that the two things we heard on Osman and Avery is they're moving to linebacker. I would say that maybe I didn't see Avery at DN. I wasn't looking for it, but I saw him standing up. Osman,
I did.
You saw Avery with his hand down?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I saw him standing up. No, I didn't.
Standing up. Okay.
Down. Yeah.
Osman is an on-the-ball linebacker. He is. Maybe they're having him drop. I didn't see it, but he is right in the box, right over the DN, standing up. And now they may drop him. Obviously, you have droppers. Maybe they'll have him drop. I don't know. But Tron Jackson, by the way, has had a nice run. He's flashed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because I feel like I notice when he's out there on the field, he's either making a play or you see the number. Yeah, he has showed up. That's a good thing for them because we know that they're not exactly young at defensive end. Obviously, with Brandon Graham and Kerrigan, and who knows what's going to happen with Derek Barnett after this year. So it is good to see one of these young kids who they drafted low get in there and. Speaking of that, I mean, you want to transition to linebackers? That's it for the D line, right?
Well, I was just going to say that Kerrigan is absolutely going to play both. If you went by the start of camp, he'd play more linebacker than DN, but nobody knows. It's impossible to. I just have a feeling he's going to be more linebacker than DN, but we won't know for a while. Right. And then obviously, if Tron Jackson makes it, right, and if he could actually dress. Now, again, we're only through 1 week here.
Yeah,
got a long way to go. It helps them with Kerrigan, so they don't have to play him a ton of snaps. But with Barnett and Sweat doing well, knock on wood, they stay healthy, they could actually have a pretty interesting rotation at the end.
They very much could be. You mentioned the kids, right? And I was shocked when I noticed it on Tuesday and then again Wednesday is that the rookie from LSU, Jacoby Stevens, was he a 7th or a 6th? He was a 6th, right?
Yes, 6th.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was out there at times with the first team alongside Eric Wilson. And then he came up on Wednesday. We all saw it with the play of the day where he picked off Jalen Hurts across the middle there and kind of ran it back, which was fun to see for him. So here's the thing. I don't want to make too big of a deal of it because the one thing we can say at linebacker is that if your name isn't Eric Wilson, you're just getting rotated in and out with everybody. Eric Wilson's there, and then it's either TJ Edwards or Jacoby Stevens or Sean Bradley or some of the stand-up guys we were talking about with Osman or Avery. So it's really hard to make anything of anything other than the fact that a rookie picked in the 6th round did get some opportunities with a first team look and then came up with a nice play there. So that's good for him.
Yeah. And they're giving, because of Singleton out, right. And Avery, you're not going to play him a ton of snaps, and Davion Taylor being out. Your guys like Stevens, Rashad Smith, Sean Bradley, Rashad Smith got work with the ones on Saturday. I'm like, what? Wait, who's Rashad Smith is out there with the ones? What's going on here?
So these guys, Rashad Smith. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
I said I forgot to mention Rashad Smith. He's another one that you add to the pot.
Yeah, he's out there. So have you noticed Patrick Johnson 48? I haven't seen him.
Very sparingly. I noticed him when the other day when I'm like, who's 48? Because I saw him jog out with the 3rd team, and all these guys are wearing such weird. Like, first of all, Steven Nelson and Darius Slay are 2 and 3. I'm like, those are quarterback numbers or punter numbers. And then you got Josiah Scott
Kicker.
as a slot corner wearing 46, and I'm like, that's like a fullback's number or a linebacker's
H-back,
number.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an H-back. And then, as you just mentioned, Patrick Johnson wearing 48, which is not a typical pass rushing number. So my head has been in the. I'm got my numerical roster like attached to me when I'm at practice, and sometimes it's really obvious. I'm like, oh yeah, of course that's so and so. Why is he wearing that number? So, but yeah, no, I haven't really noticed a ton of him. But when he's out there, he's usually with the third team. So,
You want to move over to DBs?
Yeah, because I think we talked about it a little bit more, and I'm more steeped in this than ever before, even 2 weeks through. The best thing about adding Steven Nelson is that Avonte Maddox is in the slot. I mean, I think it makes a world of a difference. And I think
100%.
Josiah Scott's doing a good job from the slot too. And I really do think, Adam, that gives, if this is the way it shakes out, that Scott makes it as well, and Maddox, is that it gives them that kind of optionality to play hybrid packages, or maybe use Avonte Maddox as a safety more if they're comfortable with Scott, playing certain slot matchups as well, because I think both of those guys have played well.
Yeah, Scott, I think, is being used inside and outside. I still think he's better on the inside. Talking to a Jaguar source, that's the way they saw him, but they didn't have any room for him because they want longer players. They don't want guys 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". They want as long as possible. Right. All right. So we'll get started at corner.
Yeah, the big story obviously is the rookie.
Yeah, Zech McPhearson. We didn't, much to our chagrin, we didn't really talk about him on our first training camp show. Right. He's been, if we ranked, give me your top 3 defenders. It's Hargrave. I don't know who number 2 would be, but he's no worse than number 3. Well, Sweat is 2. It's Hargrave, Sweat, and Barnett, or McPhearson, Barnett. McPhearson's been everything they could have hoped for so far. Now, folks, it's mainly with the 2s and 3s, probably more 2s, and he's dominated. He's really, here's what we're told: super smart, doesn't make the same mistake twice, which is huge for coaches when you're coaching rookies,
especially at that position.
Yeah, exactly. And they're doing so much bleep here, pre-snap, post-snap, and he is getting it. And this is what apparently his testing was really good. His pre-draft, whatever teams gave him, like medals, how his FBI is really good. Functional football intelligence is really good. And it shows. So the best case scenario, Geoff, moving this forward, would be, we're going to get to Nelson in a second. Nelson, Slay on the outside, obviously. Maddox is your slot, which is you're absolutely correct. This is what they want. McPhearson is their top backup outside guy. Craig James, who's had a good camp, we're told. He actually had a good camp last year. He had injuries in the regular season, and that kind of set him back. But their depth might be a little bit. If McPhearson could keep this up, their depth might be way better. Okay, because remember, when we came into camp, we had no idea what their outside group would look like. And then they had Steven Nelson right before camp. Nelson, here's his one issue. If he does not, he's kind of handsy, but legally, he'll get his chuck within 5 yards. When they get past him, he doesn't have the recovery speed. So he's got to keep everybody in front of him. That's the one issue from what I've seen and what I've been told. And that was also an issue with Pittsburgh. So, and he's only 5'10"-ish. So just keep that in mind. He's got to keep the guy in front of him.
Yeah, no, I think special teams, when you talk about those last spots, is going to come in key, because I feel like you're going to have Jaquette and Josiah Scott kind of fighting for maybe that 5th corner, right? I mean, you've got Slay, you got Nelson, you got Maddox as your top 3, you got McPhearson as 4. Maybe they keep 5. And then, I just haven't seen a whole lot from Kevon. I think, as of right now, I would think, Josiah Scott and Jaquette are really battling. Oh no, I'm sorry, did I say Craig James? He would be the 5th. So I guess they're really battling for this, right? So let me just get
the way
Slay,
I look at it,
Nelson, Nelson, Maddox, right? Yep. McPhearson, because he's a rookie 4, and then of course Craig James, who's also a good special teamer, by the way.
You could keep 6. You absolutely could.
Yeah,
keep
you
6.
could. You could definitely.
You got to go skinny. When you do that, you can't keep 10 linemen. You might only keep 8 or not. You know what I mean? That's the problem with it.
Right.
Now we'll see at corner. what shakes out with Jaquette and Scott and Nate Meters was wave injured on Wednesday, so that's the end of that. The question now could become, again, we've only done 1 week here, so we haven't had any preseason games. We need to get more players in pads, so we'll see how James does. But James, barring something unforeseen, will be on the football team. It's just, if McPhearson can continue to do this, he'll be the first guy off the bench if Nelson or Slay can't play. Yeah.
Also, maybe there's a chance if they really like, because he does have, he's not getting it now, but he has a lot of slot experience from Texas Tech. They could find some role for him in sub packages as perhaps a second slot corner if you're facing a 4 or 5 wide receiver formation. So I would want to get him on the field as if he can handle it, because he's done a really good job of getting his hands on the football and breaking up passes all over the field. So he's earning his way into getting playing time if he can handle it.
Yeah, look, it's only 1 week, because that's why we have to go. We got to. I'm willing to go out there, and Mailata's going to be the guy because he's been so dominant, and Dillard obviously has not done well enough. Mailata is a shoo-in. Right. Howard is the number 2 running back. That's not going to change. I felt pretty safe in saying that. But what I feel safe as we're on defense here, as we get close to closing it out here, this stuff, this pre-snap and post-snap stuff is just, I could certainly see why Flacco and Hurts at times are holding the ball on, because this is. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Make the quarterback hold onto the football. If you're John Gannon, you're loving this. If you're Nick Sirianni, you're not. But he's the head coach, so he likes half of it, the other half he doesn't like.
No doubt about it. All right, let's move on to safeties. Finish it up here. This is still a spot that concerns me a little bit, only because Rod McLeod is not back, and who knows when he will be. And you've got Anthony Harris, who's been fine as far as I can see. And usually running alongside him is Kevon Wallace, who is a second-year kid, 4th-round pick last year. Didn't really play a whole lot when he did last year. He was up and down, and now he's got to learn, and as you just mentioned, an entirely new defense that has their safeties playing in an entirely different way than last year. So as much as we talk about the offensive guys, Adam, and what they're seeing on the opposite side and all the things that must be going through their head, I feel like the same thing is happening with Kevon Wallace, where he's just seeing the game a whole lot differently now, being asked to do what he's doing.
Yeah, this is a complete departure from Schwartz's defense. So yeah, it's swimming upstream. It just it's going to be challenging for him.
Right.
But look, they need him. He's young. You've been beating this drum for 3 years. Give me some young safeties with his football team. Well, I know they're not doing the second round like you've wanted, but at least they did in the 4th last year.
Yeah. Can we get a third one of these days?
Well, look, last year would have been Jerry Chin, but oh well.
I know. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
It hurts instead of Chin. That's okay. We'll see what happens.
There you go.
Harris is, as advertised, knows the defense. What we're told, he's been fine. We talked about Nelson in the corners. At safety, it's just like the guys like Elijah Riley and people want to know about Graylin Arnold. There's nothing to – if we hear anything that looks like they're going to have a chance, we'll let you know. But we haven't got anything yet.
I think Riley seems to be a good special teams player, the type of guy that can make that for that. Because remember, they lost Rudy Ford, right?
Yeah,
he was kind of their special teams speed demon.
Well, the guy who was it? There's someone I'll remember it. We'll do special teams for Monday's show. We'll spend a couple minutes on it. But there's someone on the roster who's really. No, it's Davion Taylor. That's the guy. He's going to be. Yeah, he's going to be he's your Rudy Ford on specials. Trust me on that one. That's going to happen.
As far as speed, yes, I
that's what they want. Now he's going to be. He's going to
week to week with a calf injury right now. So that's
right. No, but I'm saying for this season, right? For this season, Davion Taylor is going to be that Rudy Ford. He's going to be on every special team that's coverage, for sure.
Gotcha. 4-for-4 guy. Yeah. Well, and hopefully he'll get healthy soon to be able to get back out there, because it's really hurting him, to not be practicing with the defense and to be week to week now. Mm-hmm. I think it was a calf injury that he was diagnosed with. So those can linger, as we've seen.
Oh, calf. They're a biatch.
Yes, they are
terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I pulled my calf, and I never got it. I never went to the doctor. It was actually 2 months.
Right.
Yeah. Just
and that ended your linebacker career before.
No, it ended my basketball. My 20s. It just to be able to run around. It took me 2 months, but I didn't rehab it. But no, it's because you got to fire, man. You got to come out of your stance with a calf injury, and he's a speed guy.
Yeah,
it's not good.
That's
so
why I said for his case, he needs. Hopefully, it's not too severe, and he can get out there in a week or two, and not 3 or 4 weeks.
Right. So Marcus Hepps is out there competing. Melifuano, we mentioned the Raiders reached significantly for him. They took a guy who was a body beautiful and was not a great football player, and that didn't work out. Right. But he's there. I mean, Andrew Adams. Oh, yeah, it was really interesting. I don't know what the rule is. I thought there'd be a ramp-up period if you've been on – now, I know it's only a week. Whereas Adams practiced. We saw him out there in practicing with his teammates on Wednesday. Singleton was at practice, but I guess didn't get cleared to practice. I don't understand why, but we were told on Saturday he's practicing, barring something unforeseen.
That's true. All right, we'll see how that develops, and we'll probably have more on that on our next podcast, which will drop Monday morning, and we'll cover everything that's gone on from the time you're listening to this to the time that the next podcast comes out. We look forward to it. It's been fun getting back into the X's and O's of training camp, the personnel groupings, the coaches, just chock full of information that has been awesome for Adam and I to be able to kind of digest and process and deliver to the audience. That will do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check him out on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. You can find his website, broadsmedia.com, and look for him on Twitter at Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.